The book's literally called Happy Place. Why am I not happy? I'm gonna cry even more. That's all I have to say. I Simply Want Men, written by Emily Henry. If there is a way for me to tattoo these words on my heart, I would. That hit a bit close to home, Emily Henry. Unless you live under a rock, or if you basically just aren't on any book social media, which you being here, I assume you are, you will have seen this book before. It is currently the 10th of May, so I've literally waited 2 weeks to read this book. To make a long story short, I've been busy. I knew I wanted to take my time to read Happy Place and like actually be able to sit down and consume it either in one go or like in 2 days, which is probably what's going to end up happening, depending on whether I want to stay up until the early hours of the morning to finish this book. I am genuinely so excited. I've been waiting for Happy Place for such a long time. Book Lovers and Beach Read are two of my favorite romance books I've ever read. I have seen a range of different reviews, some positive, some negative, but overall I'd say I've seen more positive reviews than negative ones. I am a very emotional reader, and so I'm not going to be surprised if I start crying over this book, because Adele did tell me after she finished it, like, girl, you will cry. If you're not familiar with Happy Place at all, I will read you the description on the inside of the book so you know what it's about. Harriet and Wynne are the perfect couple. They go together like bread and butter, gin and tonic, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Every year they take a holiday from their lives to drink far too much wine with their favorite people in the world. Except this year they're lying through their teeth because Harriet and Wynne broke up 6 months ago and they still haven't told anyone. But the cottage is for sale, so this is the last time they'll all be here together. They can't bear to break their best friends' hearts, so they'll fake it for 1 more week. But how can you pretend to be in love and get away with it in front of the people you know best? I am going to annotate this book because I just know I'm gonna love it. So I made a little annotation guide thing here. I bought new tabs especially for this because I wanted the tabs to match the book, which is why I've chosen these ones because I thought that was cute. And I've got my pens and I've got my beautiful Tile Pieces bookmark. That's also pink. I'm just gonna have to crack the book open and get started. I'm so nervous though. As I've already said, Beach Read and Book Lovers are two of my all-time favorite books. And I can just tell from like the whole idea of this book and my friend's reaction to the book that I am gonna love it. And like in my head, it's bound to be a 5-star read. But at the same time, me saying that makes me very scared that it's not going to be a 5-star read for me. So I don't want to go into it with too high expectations, but as we can already tell, that's not gonna happen. I think I need to start because I've been waiting 2 weeks for this. I'm on page 40, chapter 5. Safe to say, I'm already in love. The way I feel about these characters already, I just know it's gonna be an emotional ride because I know we're gonna get to a sad part and I'm just gonna break. I just think Emily Henry has a way with words that makes you feel something. Like, you might not have felt the feeling before, but the way that she describes how the main character's feeling with like different things with Win and around her friends and stuff as well. Even just this short line: "This coaxes another snort of laughter out of me. Eyes back on the road, he smiles to himself, and my bones seem to fill up with helium." Like, short lines like that makes you kind of feel and understand exactly how Harriet, the main character, feels, and you just know like where the story is going because of those simple and yet very well thought out sentences and like clues, if that makes sense. I just know that this book, why am I so emotional? I just know that this book is gonna break me because I'm already so emotional, and this book already feels like such a warm hug with the characters compared to her previous books with both Beach Read and Book Lovers and People We Meet on Vacation. The main characters in the book, although the main characters, and you read from one person's point of view, which is the female lead, most of the other characters in the books is just the love interest. In Book Lovers you have Nora's sister, who is there for a lot of things, but you get like that sisterly bond, I guess. In Beach Read you have Jenner's friend, but she's not there that much. You have some side characters, but they're not that important to Jenner in that way. And same with Poppy and Alex in People We Meet on Vacation. Poppy does have her friend, I don't recall her friend's name, but like she's not that important to the story, if that makes sense. But in this one you already have this close circle of friends, and like I'm literally only 40 pages in and I can already tell how important the friendships are to Harriet. And also a lot of things that Harriet feel, I'm like, oh my god, like I feel exactly like that. And like I fear Harriet is a bit too close to me, which is not great because that means I'm gonna be even more emotional, and that's simply not great. That's just a little update for right now. 40 pages in and I'm this emotional, so Emily Henry, you're doing great. The book's literally called Happy Place. Why am I not happy? I am, because I've been smiling and giggling, but at the same time I'm crying. I have read a bit more. I think I uploaded you the last one. I had read like 30 pages. I'm now on page 64, starting chapter 7. I don't want to say anything before I've finished the book and like sat with it and like had all the feelings. But so far, this has the potential to become my favorite Emily Henry book. And I do not use those words lightly. Because for anyone who knows me, at least anyone who knows the books I love, Beach Read and Book Lovers are literally, Beach Read is printed on my heart forever. And so the fact that Happy Place potentially could take that #1 spot is something I never thought I would say. I really like the switch between Real Life, which is present tense, and Happy Place, which is the past tense. As for right now, I do know some of the names of the chapters do change later on. I can't say I prefer one over the other. I do like both, like the past and the present. I think reading about the past, knowing the current conflict situation that they're currently in real life is very interesting. Also reading about real life, like present tense, and Wynne and Harriet knowing that they'd broken up like 5 or 6 months ago, and they had this secret to their friends because overall they want their friends to have this perfect final week together, and so they don't want to like ruin any of that and like break the pretense, so that they can have this final great week together in Maine in their overall happy place. Cleo, one of their friends, asks Harriet like, is everything good? And Harriet answers with, of course it is, I'm in my happy place. She's in her happy place like throughout the beginning of the book as well. Whenever Harriet is feeling anxious or anything, it's like, picture your happy place, like where's your happy place? And all of these sentences are flooding back to her, and she's like imagining the smells of like a specific kind of perfume, the beach and the sea and the laughter of her friends, and what the house in Maine looks like, and all of the friends together in their happy place. And it's always like, where's your happy place? It's there, like with her friends. And now she's having to bear this secret and like keeping up this pretense with Wynne, pretending that they're still together for the sake of their friends' happiness and for the sake of them having this final week together. And so she's meant to be happy because she's in her happy place, but she's not, because she's got so much bearing on her shoulders, and the only other person who she's sharing these feelings with potentially is Wynne, but at the same time they haven't spoken since they broke up really, and so she doesn't know if he's feeling the same feelings as her because, you know, they broke up. He could be fine with it whilst she knows that she's not fine. And I think having this like duality of her like being in her happy place but not being happy is so sad to me. Like, the reason why Harriet doesn't want to tell her friends about it is because she wants what's best for them. She's not gonna ruin their final week together and like ruin their potential final happy week in their happy place together when she can wait. She doesn't like conflict, she doesn't like to start arguments, and overall she just wants the people around her to be happy, and if their happiness comes at the cost of her potential unhappiness, she's kind of fine with it. And let's not get into that, because no, Emily Henry is brilliant and there's nothing else I can say about it. Happy place. Wait, I'm gonna read you a quote that I really liked, but also that Loki made me cry, because, you know, I was more scared of marrying someone who couldn't bring himself to leave me or to keep loving me. It's why I hadn't let myself cry when Wynne dumped me, or ask for answers or a second chance. I knew the only thing more painful than being without him would be being together, knowing I no longer truly had him. There's just so many quotes in this book that's utterly heartbreaking and so painful, and the fact that you're getting all of these like post Wynne and Harriet being together in the real life chapters, along with them falling in love in the happy place chapters. It's such a great juxtaposition, but it makes me so sad. I've also read interviews with Emily Henry where she said like the saddest book she's written out of her adult books is Speech Read, and I do agree. so far at least. Beach read is, with the circumstances around January and Gus, I do think that book is overtly the saddest book out of all of them. And yet, there's just something about this book that literally makes me so sad. And I do know why. It's just so good. The fact that I'm literally only 64 pages into this book and I'm already so invested in the characters and so emotional over what's happening to them and what's going on in their lives. I think it's just proof of how good of a writer Emily Henry is. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that Emily Henry knows her way around words and metaphors. He's become my best friend the way the others did. Bit by bit, sand passing through an hourglass so slowly, it's impossible to pin down the moment it happens. When suddenly, more of my heart belongs to him than doesn't, and I know I'll never get a single grain back. It is the next day. I read a bit more of Happy Place last night before going to bed. Something I really appreciate about this, which I did mention a bit yesterday, is the friendships in this book. I think they're written so well. Harriet has this fear of being lonely, that she can't get rid of this loneliness. And there's this quote after she's broken up with a previous boyfriend, blah blah blah, and it's, "From the loneliness, from the fear that I would never escape it, because feelings were changeable and people were unpredictable. You couldn't hold on to them through the force of will." And then later on, Sabrina and Cleo are there for her, and Emily Henry wrote, "We're here, they promised, and the loneliness never found such a foothold again. No matter what, I'd always have the two of them." I don't know, I think it's just really beautiful. And I love that this book it's named Happy Place. It's about being in your happy place, where you are with the people you love the most. And I really like that it's not just centered around the romantic love, but also the platonic love that you can have, or that you do have amongst best friends. And I think it's just really well written and I really love it. See how when you're talking about songwriters and you're saying, oh, they're a lyrical genius. I think Emily Henry is, what's the writer version of that? I don't know what, but she is a genius anyway. Metaphorical genius? I don't know what to say, but I've gotten to one of the quotes that I had read before. I wouldn't say that this quote is spoilery in any reason whatsoever, so I'm gonna read to you because I think I need to point out the genius and wordplay and just overall writer's masterpiece, mind, whatever we want to say about Emily Henry. I'm gonna show you this, and this is proof that she is a mastermind. They're on a Ferris wheel, that's all I'm gonna say. We're reading from Harriet's point of view, as always. She says, "Do you remember what you told me about your brain? You said it felt like a Ferris wheel, like all your thoughts were constantly circling and you'd reached out for one, but it was hard to stay on it for too long because they kept spinning. Wynne says, except with you, you're like gravity. Everything keeps spinning, but my mind's always got one hand on you." And then that reminded me of a quote I read earlier on in the book, which is this. I took a photo of it yesterday because I was like, I love this quote so much. And Harriet thinks this. "I rarely said his name though. It felt too much like an incantation. as if it would light me up from the inside and I'd see how much I wanted him. How all day long my mind caught on him like a scar in a record. How without even trying, I knew exactly where he was at all times, could likely cover my eyes, get spun around and still point to him on the first try. This whole concept of Win and Harriet, like being so connected through gravity and like their world keeps spinning, even with everything happening, they can always seek one another out. I just think it's so beautiful. You might be sat there laughing at me because I'm crying over this, but I think this just shows Emily Henry being a lyrical genius. I know these aren't lyrics, but if they were, we'd all say she's a lyrical genius, let's be honest. Just the way Emily Henry describes Win and Harriet's relationship is so beautiful, although heartbreaking and so painful at times, but it's so beautifully written with metaphors and the way that she kind of brings you back to that one quote like 100 or 150 pages ago. It's just beautiful and I love it, and I'm gonna cry even more. That's all I have to say. I simply want Men, written by Emily Henry. If there is a way for me to tattoo these words on my heart, I would. Get me a man who says, when talking about the multiverse, in every universe it's you for me, even if it's not me for you. It is Friday, the 12th of May, and we're on the home stretch. I have about 60 pages left. Now, I could have finished this book yesterday. I put it down around like 10 p.m. when my flatmate came home. I put the book down last night for a multitude of reasons. One of them being the fact that I knew I would potentially cry even more as I neared the end. Second of all, this is the only Emily Henry book that I have left to read. So this will be the final Emily Henry work that I get to read in a while. So I wanted to savor the ending. I also didn't want to rush into anything. So I will be finishing this book today. I'm scared for the ending. I'm saying all of this as if I don't know how this book is most likely going to end. I have read the other 3 adult works of fiction that Emily Henry has published, so I know how she normally ends her books. I can only assume that we're gonna get the same similar ending feelings that we got from those 3 books. Let's finish Happy Place and I will go to my happy place. Well, I can't physically go to my happy place, but I'll go to my Emily Henry universe, which is one of my happy places. Right, I just finished Happy Place. This was definitely a very emotional read. I'm not sure if that's what Emily Henry set out to do, but that's what it was to me at least. I think the reason why Happy Place hit me so hard and why I got very emotional, shed many tears, as you guys saw, is because there's so many aspects of Harriet that I can relate to, and so many other quotes I'm like, that hit a bit too close to home, Emily Henry. And I think because of that I could overall relate a lot more to the story. Harriet and Wynne are perfect for one another. I think Emily Henry is really good at writing romance. I'd say this book feels very much like a romance. A lot of her other books feels like fiction to me, like romance isn't the main part of the plot. I think both for book lovers and beach read especially, the romance part of the book isn't like the main plot, and in a sense it wasn't the main plot in this book either, but it felt more so. I think because you get the juxtaposition of seeing Harriet and Wynne fall in love with the present tense chapters where we see them kind of struggle with the fact that they've lost one another, and kind of this, is there any possibility of them being able to get back together? And I think that's also one of the reasons as to why I'm very much a fan of second chance romance. You get a lot more with the characters in their happy element, and although there were sad parts of course, because when you have the chapters of Harriet and Wynne falling in love, you get to see those sides of them, but you also get to see how emotional they are without one another and how they've impacted each other's lives, compared to if you have another love story where they don't know each other and you get to see them falling in love, but you don't get to see them that happy together. And you got that in this book, and you got the impact of the fact that they had that happiness together and then kind of had to let it go for different reasons. I just think Harriet and Wynne, the way that Emily Henry describes their relationship, how she describes the both of them, the words and metaphors she's using for both of the characters, like when we're in Harriet's head and we get her thoughts, but then we also get the words from Wynne, you get to see how perfectly they fit together. And when you get to like the climax of the book, or the chapters when you know like there is a point in the span of their relationship where they end things and you know it's going to hurt because you know how well they go together. I think going back to that whole quote about Harriet saying she could be spun around so many times, but the first person she'll always point to is Wynne, and then how Wynne feels like his brain is like a Ferris wheel, everything is spinning, like all his thoughts are spinning in his head. Harriet is the one who keeps him grounded, like she feels like gravity, everything keeps spinning but my mind's always got a hand on you. And I think that's just beautiful, and there's so many other quotes throughout this whole book that just makes you fall in love with them and like you want to root for them. But also I think beyond the love between her and Wynne, you also have such a great connection between the friends in the story. Like you have other relationships as well, but the friendship in this book between the different characters, between Harriet, Sabrina, Cleo, Kimmy, and like everyone, I think is really beautiful. Like Emily Henry really encompassed, is that the right word, the found family trope in this book so well. And yes, it's about relationships, it's about friendships, but it's also about growing up, and the relationship that you have with people change as you're growing older. And although change is never fun to have to go through, it happens. It's something you have to live with, you have to adapt, and you know that your relationship will change with how your life changes. And I think the most important thing is you know that as long as you know and you want to make an effort in keeping your friends close, you might live across the country, you might live in a different country, but as long as you make an effort and as long as you want to, like, you'll be able to keep those friends close. I think when you're so used to having friends, especially with friends that you make in school or at uni, there are people who you're used to seeing every single day, and as you grow older, as I've said, things change, and therefore your relationships are forced to change as well. There's change that comes with change, and that's just a part of life, I guess. But I feel the way that Emily Henry managed to write it was so beautiful and so relatable, and I just loved every single part of this book. To no one's surprise as well, I gave this book 5 stars. I just think it was great. It was great. I enjoyed the whole book. I shed tears because of how much I love the book, how much I love the characters. So many parts of this book is so relatable to me, and I think that's why I felt it on like a deeper level. I feel like with Harriet and with like everything that she's going through in terms of her relationship, her friends, just life in general, just hit a bit too close to home. I adore this book, and I don't know how I'm gonna rank it amongst my other Emily Henry books, but I might do a video on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you read Have a Place by Emily Henry, please let me know your thoughts as well. I would love to hear what everyone else thought about the book. Is it your favorite Emily Henry book? Is it your first Emily Henry book? Please do let me know. And yeah, until next time, happy reading.